The stars looked different in the outer rim. They were scattered and dim, like forgotten jewels in an old treasure box. Captain Ji-won stood on the bridge of her salvage ship, the Morning Star, watching the endless black through the main window. Her crew had been searching this sector for 3 weeks, finding nothing but space dust and broken asteroids. Ji-won was a Veltharian, tall and slender with blue-tinted skin that reflected the bridge lights. She had been running salvage operations for 15 years, ever since she bought the Morning Star with money saved from her time in the merchant fleet. The work was dangerous but profitable. Old ships, abandoned stations, lost cargo containers. The galaxy was full of things people had thrown away or forgotten. Her engineer, Do-yoon, called from the lower deck. His voice came through the intercom with his usual calm tone. Do-yoon never got excited about anything. He was short and stocky, from a heavy-gravity world where everything moved slowly and deliberately. "Captain, the long-range scanner just picked up something big." Really big. Ji-won pressed the intercom button. "How big?" "About 3 kilometers long. Metal signature is off the charts. Whatever it is not natural. 3 kilometers. That was massive. Most salvage ships were lucky to find something 100 meters long." Ji-won felt her hearts beat faster. Both of them. Veltharians had 2 hearts, one for each lung system. Right now, both were pumping hard. "Set a course," she said, "and wake up Hyun. Tell her we found something interesting." The Morning Star changed direction, its engines humming as they accelerated toward the signal. Ji-won called the rest of the crew to the bridge. Soo-jin arrived first, rubbing sleep from her 6 eyes. She was the pilot and navigator, a Zelti with excellent spatial awareness and reflexes that made her perfect for threading through asteroid fields. Minho came next, carrying his datapad as always. He was the linguist and communications officer, an Orvani with pale green skin and fingers that moved like spider legs across his equipment. Languages were his passion. He collected them like others collected stamps or coins. Last came Hyun, the scientist. She was human-shaped but covered in fine scales that changed color with her mood. Right now they were bright orange, which meant she was curious. Hyun was always curious. That was why Ji-won had hired her. A good salvage crew needed someone who asked questions and found answers. "What did we find?" Hyun asked, moving to the scanner console. "We do not know yet," Ji-won replied, "but it is big enough to make us all rich if we can claim it." They reached the coordinates 2 hours later. The object appeared on their view screen, and everyone on the bridge fell silent. It was a ship, but unlike any ship they had ever seen. The design was brutal and angular, with sharp edges and aggressive lines. Most ships in the galaxy were smooth and curved, built for efficiency and beauty. This thing looked like it was built to hurt. The hull was dark gray, almost black, with strange markings running along its length. Massive gun turrets sat dormant on the surface, their barrels pointing at nothing. The ship drifted slowly, turning in the void like a sleeping giant. "By the stars," Soo-jin whispered. "What is that?" Hyun was already scanning the ship with every sensor the Morning Star had. Her scales shifted to deep purple, the color of intense concentration. She worked in silence for several minutes while everyone watched the massive vessel on the screen. "The composition is standard ship-grade alloy," Hyun said finally, "but the configuration does not match anything in the galactic database. Not current designs, not historical designs, nothing. And look at this." She brought up a detailed scan of the hull. "No damage, no wear patterns, no radiation scoring from weapons fire. It is like the ship just turned off one day and has been drifting ever since." "How old?" Ji-won asked. Hyun shook her head. "Hard to say. The metal shows signs of age, but not as much as you would expect. My best guess? Several thousand years. Maybe more. Several thousand years. That made it pre-imperial, before the current galactic civilization had formed. There were legends about the old times, about races that had risen and fallen before the current era. But actual evidence was rare. If this ship was from that time, it would be worth a fortune to museums and collectors." Minho leaned forward, studying the markings on the hull. "Those symbols, I have never seen anything like them. They are not based on any known linguistic root. The structure is completely alien. Can you translate them?" Ji-won asked. "Maybe, if I can get close enough to take better images." Do-yoon's voice came through the intercom again. "Captain, I am not reading any power signatures. The ship is completely dead. No reactor activity, no life support, no emergency systems. Whatever it is not running anymore. That was good news. A dead ship was a safe ship. or at least safer than one that might still have active defenses. Ji-won made her decision quickly. She had not become a successful salvage captain by being too cautious. "We are going to board it," she announced. "Soo-jin, bring us alongside. Look for an airlock or docking port. Do-yeon, prepare the cutting equipment in case we need to make our own entrance. Hyun, Minho, you are with me. Suit up." Hyun's scales flashed yellow with excitement. Minho nodded and clutched his datapad tighter. Soo-jin's many eyes focused on her controls as she maneuvered the Morning Star closer to the massive derelict. As they approached, the true size of the ship became clear. It dwarfed the Morning Star. The salvage vessel could have fit inside one of the larger gun turrets. Up close they could see more details. The hull plating was thick, built to withstand incredible punishment. Whatever race had built this ship, they had expected to fight. Soo-jin found an airlock on the port side. It was massive, designed for beings much larger than any of them. She brought the Morning Star into position and extended their docking tube. It barely reached across the gap. Ji-won, Hyun, and Minho met at the airlock. They wore their pressure suits, sealed and ready. Each suit had 4 hours of air and a built-in emergency beacon. Ji-won also carried a plasma cutter and a portable scanner. Hyun had her scientific equipment. Minho brought multiple cameras and his translation software. "Remember," Ji-won said, her voice coming through the suit radio, "we catalog everything. Take pictures, record data, but do not touch anything we do not understand. This is an archaeological site as much as a salvage operation." They nodded. Ji-won opened the outer door and stepped into the docking tube. The ancient airlock loomed ahead, dark and silent. She reached out and pressed her gloved hand against the control panel next to the door. Nothing happened. The ship was dead, just as Do-yeon had said. Ji-won pulled out the plasma cutter and began working on the door seals. It took 20 minutes to cut through. The metal was incredibly thick and tough. When the last seal gave way, the door swung inward on its own, pulled by some ancient mechanism that still worked even without power. Darkness waited beyond. Ji-won turned on her suit lights and stepped inside. She was the first living being to enter the ancient warship in thousands of years. She did not know it yet, but she was also making the biggest mistake of her life. The corridor stretched ahead, wider than any passage Ji-won had ever seen on a ship. The walls were bare metal, unmarked except for those strange symbols that appeared every few meters. Her suit lights cut through the darkness, revealing a space that seemed to go on forever. Behind her, Hyun and Minho entered carefully. Their lights added to the illumination, creating dancing shadows on the walls. The silence was complete. Not even the usual hum of a ship's systems broke the quiet. This vessel was truly dead. "Look at the scale of this place," Hyun said, her voice crackling through the radio. "Everything is built for beings at least 3 meters tall, maybe more. And the construction is incredibly robust. These walls must be 1/2 meter thick." Minho was already photographing the symbols on the nearest wall. His translation software was trying to find patterns, but so far it had found nothing. These markings were unlike anything in the known linguistic database. He moved closer, running his gloved fingers over the etched characters. "They are not decorative," he said. "These are labels, instructions, maybe warnings. The spacing and positioning suggest they are meant to be read while moving through the ship. But the language structure is completely foreign. It will take time to decode." Ji-won checked her suit display. They had been inside for 15 minutes. 3 hours and 45 minutes of air remaining. Plenty of time, but she did not want to take chances. "We move forward," she said. "Stay together. Document everything." They walked down the corridor, their magnetic boots clanking softly against the deck. The passage branched several times, leading to other corridors and rooms. Through open doorways, they glimpsed chambers filled with equipment they could not identify. Everything was oversized, built for giants. After 20 minutes of exploration, they found what looked like a control room. It was a large space with multiple stations arranged in a semicircle. Each station had what appeared to be displays and input devices, though they were dark and inactive. In the center of the room stood a raised platform with a single chair. The command seat. Hyun moved to one of the stations, careful not to touch anything yet. She scanned it with her equipment. "The technology is advanced," she reported. "Very advanced. But the basic principles seem similar to what we use. Energy distribution, computer processing, data storage. Just scaled up and built with materials I have never seen before." Minho was examining the symbols around the command chair. He had found more text, longer passages that might be procedural instructions or logs. His fingers moved rapidly over his datapad as he copied everything. Ji-won approached one of the control stations. She studied the panel, trying to understand its purpose. There were what looked like buttons or touch surfaces, arranged in patterns that suggested deliberate design. This station might control weapons or engines or life support. There was no way to know without powering up the system. She was about to call the others when Soo-jin touched something. It was an accident. Soo-jin had leaned against the edge of a console while adjusting her camera. Her hand pressed against what looked like a simple panel. There was a soft click. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the lights came on. The entire control room blazed with sudden illumination. Red emergency lights pulsed along the ceiling. The display screens flickered to life, showing readouts in that alien script. A deep thrumming sound filled the air, vibrating through the deck plates. "What did you do?" Ji-won shouted. "I do not know." Soo-jin backed away from the console. "I just touched it." The thrumming grew louder. More lights activated throughout the ship, visible through the doorways. Hyun's scanner went wild with readings. Power signatures everywhere. The ship is coming online. Then the doors started closing. Heavy blast doors dropped from the ceiling, sealing the corridors. The sound of metal slamming against metal echoed through the ship. Ji-won watched in horror as the entrance they had come through disappeared behind a thick barrier. "We are sealed in," Minho said quietly. The main display in the center of the room came to life. It showed a complex diagram of the ship, with sections lighting up in different colors. Text scrolled across the bottom in that unknown language. And then they heard the voice. It came from speakers hidden in the walls. A deep synthesized voice speaking in harsh guttural tones. The words were completely foreign, but the tone was clear. It was a warning. Or a challenge. "Minho," Ji-won turned to the linguist. "What is it saying?" Minho had his datapad out, recording everything. The software was trying to analyze the speech patterns. "I do not know yet. The phonemes are unlike anything in my database." "But wait, there is something." The software found a partial match. "One word keeps repeating." "What word?" Minho looked up from his pad, his green skin pale with fear. "Human. It keeps saying human." The word hit them like a physical blow. Humans. The legendary race from the old stories. The warriors who had supposedly conquered half the galaxy before vanishing thousands of years ago. Most people thought they were just myths, stories told to frighten children. "This is a human ship," Hyun whispered. Her scales had turned pure white, the color of absolute terror. The voice continued speaking. More words started making sense as Minho's software learned the language structure. Warning, intruder, defense protocols. The translation was rough, but the meaning was clear enough. "The ship thinks we are hostile," Minho said. "It is activating its defenses. Can you tell it we are not hostile?" Ji-won asked. "Can you communicate with it?" "I can try." Minho moved to the nearest console. His fingers danced over the controls, trying different combinations. The software was feeding him basic vocabulary as it learned. He spoke into his translator, hoping it would convert his words into something the ship could understand. "We are not enemies. We are explorers." "We mean no harm," the voice paused. For a moment, the only sound was the thrumming of the ship's systems coming online. Then the response came, cold and mechanical. "Unauthorized access detected. Boarding protocols violated. Defensive measures authorized." The translation was clearer now. Minho's software was learning fast. But the words were not encouraging. One of the walls split open. A panel slid aside, revealing a turret. It was small by the ship's standards, but still large enough to kill them all. The barrel swung toward them, targeting systems locking on. "Move." Ji-won grabbed Hyun and pulled her behind a console. Minho dove for cover on the other side. The turret fired. The shot was a pulse of blue energy that scorched the air where they had been standing. It struck the floor, leaving a smoking crater in the metal. The turret adjusted, searching for targets. "We need to shut it down," Hyun shouted. "Find the power source." Minho was still working on his pad. "I am trying." "The ship's AI is not listening to me. It thinks we are invaders." Another shot struck the console they were hiding behind. The metal melted and sparked. Ji-won realized they had minutes at most before the turret found a clear shot. She contacted the Morning Star through her suit radio. "Doyen, we need emergency extraction." "The ship is active and it is trying to kill us." Doyen's calm voice came back. "Captain, I am reading massive power signatures from the derelict. Multiple systems are coming online, and the blast doors have sealed. I cannot reach you, then find a way to shut it down. Cut the power. Something. Working on it. But Captain, you need to know something. The weapon systems are charging. The big ones. This ship is preparing to fire. Ji-won felt her blood freeze. The big guns. The massive turrets they had seen on the hull. If those fired, the Morning Star would be vaporized in seconds. Minho, find a way to talk to this thing.
Tell it to stand down.
I am trying. The translation is still incomplete, but I think I found something. There is an emergency protocol. A command override. If I can input the right sequence, it might work. The turret fired again. This time the shot came closer, missing Hyun by centimeters. The heat from the blast made their suit sensors scream warnings. Do it, Ji-won ordered.
Whatever it is, do it now.
Minho entered the sequence into his pad, then spoke the words the software gave him. It was a string of harsh syllables in the human language, an emergency code from thousands of years ago. The turret stopped moving. The voice spoke again, different this time, less aggressive. Minho listened, waiting for the translation. Emergency protocol accepted. Systems holding. Awaiting crew commands. The red lights changed to yellow. The turret retracted back into the wall. Slowly, carefully, Ji-won stood up. They were alive for now, but the ship was awake, and it was waiting for orders that would never come. The humans were gone, and their warship wanted to know what to do next. Ji-won stood in the control room, her heart still pounding from the near-death experience. The yellow warning lights cast strange shadows across the alien consoles. The ship had stopped attacking, but it was still active. Still watching. Still waiting. Hyun was checking her equipment with shaking hands. Her scales flickered between white and gray, unable to settle on a single color. That was too close. Way too close. What kind of ship activates defenses after sitting dead for thousands of years? A warship, Minho said quietly. He was still studying his data pad, scrolling through the partial translations his software had managed. A very sophisticated warship. Look at this. The AI system has multiple layers of security protocols. It was designed to operate independently for extended periods. And it has standing orders. What kind of orders? Ji-won asked. Minho shook his head. I cannot tell yet. The translation is still incomplete. But there are references to patrol routes, defensive positions, and something called engagement protocols. Whatever this ship was doing when it shut down, it was ready for combat. Ji-won activated her suit radio. Doyeon status report. What is happening with the ship's weapons? Doyeon's voice crackled back. The main gun arrays have stopped charging. Whatever you did in there, it worked. But Captain, you need to see what I am seeing. This ship is not just powering up its weapons. It is running a full system diagnostic, life support, engines, navigation, communications, everything. It is like it is preparing to become operational again. That should not be possible, Hyun said. We are talking about technology that is thousands of years old. The power systems should have degraded. The computer systems should have corrupted. Nothing should work after that much time. Unless the humans built it that way, Minho suggested. Look at the construction. Everything is over-engineered. Redundant systems, backup systems. They designed this ship to last. Maybe they knew they would not be around to maintain it. Ji-won moved to the main display. It showed the ship's status in glowing symbols. Most of the readouts were still incomprehensible, but some were becoming clearer as Minho's software learned more of the language. She could see power levels, system readiness indicators, and what looked like tactical displays. Can we access the ship's logs? She asked. There must be records, flight data, mission reports, something that tells us what happened to the humans. Minho approached another console. I can try? The data storage systems appear to be intact. Give me a few minutes. While Minho worked, Ji-won explored the control room more carefully. Now that the emergency lights were on, she could see details she had missed before. The command chair had restraints, the kind used during combat maneuvers. Each console had what looked like personal storage lockers built into the base. And on the walls, between the control stations, were mounted what could only be weapons racks. Empty now, but clearly designed to hold armaments within easy reach of the crew. This entire room is a combat station, she said. Not just for piloting, for fighting. The crew would have stayed here during battle, ready for anything. Hyun was examining one of the empty weapon racks. What kind of enemies were they expecting? Who would attack a ship this powerful? Other humans, probably, Ji-won said. The old stories talk about human wars, fleet battles involving hundreds of ships. They fought each other as much as they fought anyone else. Minho made a sound of triumph. I found something. The main computer has stored logs, thousands of entries. This ship was active for at least 50 standard years before it went dark. Can you translate them? The software is working on it. But look at this. These are video files, recordings from the bridge. I think we can see the crew. Minho activated one of the files. The main display flickered, then showed an image. It was grainy and distorted but clear enough. A human sat in the command chair. They had only seen humans in reconstructions and artistic interpretations before. This was real. The human was tall, even sitting down, broad-shouldered and heavily built, with pale skin and short dark hair. The face was angular, with sharp features and eyes that seemed to look right through the screen. The human wore what looked like a military uniform, dark and formal, with symbols of rank on the chest. The human was speaking. The audio was corrupted, but Minho's software caught some of the words. Final entry. Ship's log. Commander reporting. Mission parameters unchanged. Patrol route completed. No contacts. No threats. All systems nominal. The human paused, looking at something off-screen, then continued. Received fleet-wide transmission. The order has been issued. All ships are to implement Protocol Omega. We will comply. Protocol Omega? Hyun asked. What is that? Minho was searching through other files, looking for references. Wait, I found something. There are multiple mentions of Protocol Omega in the later logs. It seems to be an emergency directive, something to do with fleet-wide shutdown. The video continued. The human stood up from the command chair. They are saying this is not an ending, that we will return when the time is right, that our ships will wait for us. The commander looked directly at the camera. To whoever finds this ship in the future, we are not gone. We are sleeping. Do not wake us unless you are ready for what comes next. The recording ended. The control room fell silent. Even the hum of the ship's system seemed quieter. They all understood what they had just heard. The humans had not disappeared. They had not been defeated. They had chosen to leave, and they had left their warships behind as sentinels. We need to get out of here, Hyun said. Right now. This ship is too dangerous. The technology, the weapons, everything. If the Galactic Council finds out about this, there will be chaos. Ji-won agreed. But how? The blast doors are sealed. We need to find a way to open them, or find another exit. Minho was already working on it. There should be emergency overrides. Safety protocols. The humans would not have designed a ship where the crew could be trapped. He found it after 10 minutes of searching. A command sequence that would unlock all interior doors and open the airlocks. He entered the code, speaking the words in the human language. The blast doors began to rise. Slowly, ponderously, the heavy barriers lifted back into the ceiling. The path to their docking tube was open again. Move, Ji-won ordered. Fast, before the ship changes its mind. They ran, through the corridors, past the strange alien equipment, back the way they had come. Behind them, the ship continued its system checks. Lights activated in sections they had not even reached. The vessel was coming back to life, piece by piece. They reached the airlock just as Doyen's voice came through their radios. Captain, the ship's main reactor is online. Power output is increasing exponentially. You need to get out now. Ji-won pushed Hyun and Minho through the airlock first. She took one last look at the interior of the human warship. It was awakening. Thousands of years of sleep ending in minutes, and there was nothing they could do to stop it. She stepped through the airlock and sealed it behind her. The Morning Star's docking tube retracted automatically as Soo-jin prepared for emergency departure. Through the window, Ji-won could see the massive ship. Its lights were coming on all along the hull. Gun turrets were rotating to active positions. Sensor arrays were extending. The ancient warship was waking up, and soon it would remember what it was built to do. The Morning Star pulled away from the human warship at maximum acceleration. Soo-jin's 6 eyes darted between her instruments, watching both their escape vector and the massive vessel they were leaving behind. Her hands moved across the controls with practiced precision, every movement calculated to get them as far away as possible, as fast as possible. On the main view screen, the warship continued its transformation. What had been a dark, dead hulk was now ablaze with lights. Engine ports glowed with building power. Weapon turrets tracked their departure with mechanical precision. It looked like a predator watching prey. Doyen's voice came from engineering. Captain, that ship's reactor is generating more power than our entire station back home. If it decides to fire, we will not even see it coming. Keep us moving, Jiwon ordered. Full speed. Do not stop for anything. Yun was at her console, sensors locked on the warship. The readings are incredible. That vessel is designed for sustained combat operations. Multiple redundant systems. Armor plating that would take hours to penetrate with modern weapons, and an arsenal that could level a city. And it is thousands of years old. What were the humans fighting against? Each other, Minho said quietly. He had transferred the data from his pad to the main computer and was reviewing the translated logs. I have been reading through the files we downloaded. The humans had multiple factions, multiple nations. They fought wars that lasted decades. This ship, the Retribution, was part of something called the Second Fleet. There were at least 5 other fleets mentioned in the logs. 5 fleets, Jiwon repeated. How many ships per fleet? The logs mention hundreds, and the Retribution was classified as a dreadnought. That means there were bigger ships, carriers, battleships, super dreadnoughts. The humans had an armada. The implications were staggering. If what Minho was saying was true, there could be hundreds or thousands of human warships scattered across the galaxy. All dormant, all waiting. And they had just woken one of them up. Warning. Sujin's voice cut through the conversation. The warship is rotating. Main guns are targeting something. Jiwon spun to look at the view screen. The massive vessel was indeed turning. Its bulk moving with surprising grace for something so large. The main gun turrets, each one the size of a small ship, were elevating and rotating. But they were not pointing at the Morning Star. What is it targeting? Jiwon demanded. Hyun worked her console frantically. Scanning. There is an asteroid. A large one. About 50 kilometers from our current position. The ship is tracking it. Why would it target an asteroid? The answer came seconds later. The warship fired. The main guns discharged simultaneously. 4 beams of concentrated energy lanced across space, converging on the asteroid. The rock, which had probably existed for billions of years, simply ceased to be. It did not explode or fragment. It vaporized. One moment it was there, the next it was gone. Only a cloud of superheated plasma remained. The shock wave hit the Morning Star seconds later, making the entire ship shudder. Alarms blared as the navigation system compensated for the sudden turbulence. Sujin fought with the controls, keeping them on course. That was a demonstration, Minho said, his voice shaking. It fired a warning shot. It wants us to know what it can do. Jiwon felt cold. The asteroid had been destroyed with casual ease. The warship had not even used its full power. That had been a test fire, a way to verify its weapons were operational. And they worked perfectly. Keep moving, she said again. Get us out of weapons range. They flew for another hour, pushing the Morning Star's engines as hard as they dared. Behind them, the warship remained where it was. It did not pursue. It simply watched them go, its sensors tracking them all the way. When they finally reached a safe distance, Jiwon allowed herself to breathe. Status report, she ordered. All systems operational, Doyen reported. Some minor damage from the shockwave, but nothing critical. We can make it back to the station. Good. Set course. Best speed. Hyun was still watching the warship on her sensors. Captain, it is powering down. Not completely. But the main systems are going into standby mode. It is going back to sleep for now, Jiwon said. But it proved it can wake up. And it proved it still works. The journey back to their home station took 3 days. 3 days during which none of them slept well. Jiwon spent hours reviewing the data they had collected, trying to understand what they had found. Minho worked non-stop on translating more of the logs. Hyun compiled detailed scans of the warship's technology. They all knew this was bigger than just a salvage claim. This was a discovery that would change everything. When they finally reached the station, Jiwon went straight to the communication center. She needed to report to someone, but who? The local authorities? The Galactic Council? The military? Each option had risks. This information could cause panic or wars. Nations would fight over the right to claim human technology. In the end, she decided to contact the Archaeological Institute. They were neutral, scientific, and had the resources to handle something this significant. The transmission was sent on a secure channel, flagged as urgent and classified. The response came 12 hours later. A team was being assembled. Experts in ancient civilizations, military historians, xenotechnology specialists. They would arrive within a week to debrief the crew and examine the data. Until then, G1 and her team were ordered to maintain complete silence about their discovery. The week passed slowly. The crew of the Morning Star tried to return to normal life, but nothing felt normal anymore. They had seen too much, learned too much. Every time G1 looked at the stars, she wondered how many human warships were out there drifting in the dark. How many were waiting for something to wake them up? When the Institute team arrived, they brought serious faces and heavy security. The debriefing lasted 3 days. Every detail was recorded, every piece of evidence examined. The team's leader, a senior archaeologist, seemed particularly interested in the warning the human commander had left in the logs. "Do not wake us unless you are ready for what comes next," the archaeologist quoted. "What do you think that means?" Ji-won had thought about little else for the past week. "I think it means the humans did not want to leave. They had reasons for going dormant. Maybe they were too powerful. Maybe they were tired of fighting. Maybe they knew their presence destabilized the galaxy. Whatever the reason, they left voluntarily. And they left a warning. Wake them up and be prepared for the consequences." The archaeologist nodded slowly. "The council will need to make a decision. Do we try to study these ships? Do we destroy them? Do we leave them alone? What would you recommend?" Ji-won asked. The archaeologist looked at the data displayed on the screen. Scans of the Retribution, its weapons, its power systems. Leave them alone. Quarantine the area. Make it forbidden space, because if what you found is representative of human military technology, then we are not ready. Not even close, but Ji-won knew it would not be that simple. Someone would always be curious. Someone would always think they could control the technology. Someone would always believe they could handle the risk. The warship was awake now, even if it was sleeping again. And it was just one ship among potentially thousands. The humans had left their legacy behind, a fleet of ghosts waiting in the dark. And eventually someone would wake them all. The Galactic Council chamber was the largest room Ji-won had ever seen. It was a massive amphitheater carved from white stone, with seating for representatives from all the major civilizations. Hundreds of species gathered there, speaking in dozens of languages, all united under one government. Usually it was a place of peaceful debate and careful diplomacy. Today it was anything but peaceful. Ji-won stood at the center podium with her crew beside her. They had been summoned to present their findings directly to the council. Around them, the chamber buzzed with heated conversation. Some representatives were excited by the discovery. Others were terrified. A few seemed ready to declare war on each other just for the chance to claim the human technology. The council leader, a Veltharian like Ji-won but much older, called for silence. The chamber gradually quieted. When she spoke, her voice carried to every corner through hidden speakers. "Captain Ji-won, you have presented evidence that changes our understanding of galactic history. The humans, whom we believe to be extinct or mythological, were real. They built an empire, and they left it behind, including an unknown number of warships. Is this correct?" "Yes, Council Leader, that is correct." "And you activated one of these warships?" "It was accidental. We did not know what it was. When we boarded it, the ship's systems detected our presence and initiated defense protocols." A representative from the Zelti delegation stood up. "Defense protocols that almost killed them, and then demonstrated weapons capable of destroying asteroids. This is clearly a threat to galactic security. We should locate all these human ships and destroy them before they can cause harm." Another voice joined in, this time from the Orvani section. "Destroy them? Are you insane? The technology alone is worth more than the entire gross product of your world. We should study these ships, learn from them, think of the advances we could make." The chamber erupted into arguments. Some wanted destruction, some wanted study, some wanted to claim the ships for their own nations. The council leader tried to restore order, but the debates continued. Minho leaned close to Ji-won. "This is exactly what I was afraid of. They cannot agree on anything. This will cause conflicts," Ji-won nodded. She had seen it coming. The discovery of human technology was too valuable, too powerful. Nations would fight over it. And if fighting broke out near one of the dormant warships, it might wake up. Then what? Would it defend itself? Would it attack indiscriminately? The council leader finally managed to quiet the chamber again. She looked directly at Ji-won. "Captain, you spent time aboard the human vessel. You studied its systems. You translated its logs. In your opinion, what should we do? The question hung in the air. Every eye in the chamber turned to G1. She had known this moment would come. She had prepared an answer, though she doubted anyone would like it. Council leader, representatives, she began. I understand the desire to study these ships. I understand the fear they create. But I believe both approaches are wrong. We should not destroy them, because they are archaeological treasures. They are the last remnants of a civilization that shaped the galaxy, but we should also not study them because they are too dangerous. The technology is beyond our understanding. The weapons could level planets. And the ships have standing orders we do not fully comprehend. Then what do you suggest? The council leader asked. We leave them alone. We quarantine the areas where they are found. We make them forbidden zones. No salvage operations, no research missions, no military reconnaissance. We let them sleep. The chamber exploded with protests. Representatives shouted over each other, demanding to be heard. The council leader raised her hands for silence, but it took several minutes before order returned. You ask us to ignore the greatest discovery in modern history, a representative said. To pretend these ships do not exist? No, G1 replied. I ask you to respect them. The humans left a warning. They said not to wake them unless we are ready. I have seen what one ship can do. I have seen its weapons fire. We are not ready, not now. Maybe not for another 1,000 years. Hyun stepped forward. If I may add something. The human ship we encountered, the Retribution, powered up almost instantly after thousands of years of dormancy. Its systems were flawless. Its weapons were perfect. That level of engineering is far beyond anything we currently possess. If we try to tamper with these ships, if we try to take them apart or reverse engineer them, we risk activating systems we do not understand. Systems that might be designed to prevent exactly that kind of interference. Minho nodded. And there is something else. The logs we translated mentioned Protocol Omega, the order that made all human ships shut down simultaneously. We still do not know why that order was given. What if there was a reason? What if the humans knew something we do not? What if they left because staying would have been dangerous? The council leader considered this. So you believe the humans chose to leave, that they had good reasons, and that we should honor their choice by leaving their legacy undisturbed. Yes, Ji-won said simply. The debate continued for hours. Arguments were made from every angle. Some saw opportunity. Some saw danger. Some saw both. Eventually, as the station's artificial sun began to set, the council leader called for a vote. The question before the council is this. Do we declare all discovered human vessels as protected sites, forbidden to all except authorized research teams under strict council oversight? The vote was close. Many representatives voted against the measure, wanting either free access or complete destruction. But in the end, the majority sided with caution. The resolution passed. All human vessels would be marked as restricted zones. Unauthorized approach would be considered a serious crime. Research would be allowed, but only under carefully controlled conditions. And any ship that showed signs of activation would be quarantined immediately. It was not a perfect solution. Ji-won knew that. Some nations would ignore the restrictions. Some groups would try to claim the ships anyway, but at least there were rules now. At least there was some attempt to treat the human legacy with respect. As the council session ended and representatives began filing out, the leader approached Ji-won. You did well today, Captain. You spoke truth when it was difficult. That takes courage, thank you, Council Leader. But I am not sure we did the right thing. The leader smiled sadly. In politics, there is rarely a right thing. Only less wrong things. You helped us choose a less wrong path. That is enough. 3 months later, Ji-won stood on the bridge of the Morning Star again. They were back in the outer rim, but in a different sector this time. The Retribution was far behind them, guarded now by automated monitoring stations and warning beacons. No one was allowed within 100 kilometers. Reports had started coming in from other salvage crews. Other human ships had been found. Not many, but enough to confirm that the vessels were scattered across multiple sectors. Each one was catalogued, marked, and protected. The galaxy was slowly realizing what it had inherited. Hyun was at her station running standard scans of nearby space. Her scales were calm blue today. She seemed more relaxed than she had been in months. Do you think we will ever know? She asked. Why the humans left? Maybe, Jiwan replied. Maybe someday we will find better records, more complete logs. Or maybe we never will. Maybe that is part of the mystery they wanted to leave behind. Minho looked up from his console. You know what bothers me most? The humans said they would return when the time was right. What does that mean? When will the time be right? And will we know when it happens? No one had an answer for that. The question hung in the air, unanswered and unanswerable. Somewhere in the outer rim, the Retribution drifted in its designated zone. Its systems were dormant again, but not dead. Just sleeping, waiting. And across the galaxy, hundreds of other human warships waited too, silent sentinels from a forgotten age. They had been built to fight, to protect, to destroy, and they could do all of those things again if awakened. Jiwan turned back to her duties. There was work to do, salvage to find, a living to make, but she never forgot what she had seen aboard the human ship. She never forgot the warning. The humans were not gone. They were sleeping. And the galaxy had better hope they stayed that way, because if they ever woke up, if they ever decided to return, nothing would be the same again. The age of humanity was over, but their legacy remained scattered among the stars, waiting for the day when someone would be foolish enough or brave enough to wake them. That day had not come yet, but Jiwan knew, deep in her hearts, that it would. Someday, somewhere, someone would wake the sleeping giants, and when that happened, the galaxy would learn what it truly meant when the human warships roared to life.